welcome to the family with
Mike Stretch Gelfand.
Tevin Pittman.
Tevin what Pittman? You got to have a nickname in there.
Tevin, instead of Stretch, Shrink Pittman.
Shrink. There you go.
Hey, that
Stretch
reminds
and
me, I have
shrink.
an appointment today. No, never mind.
What?
No, I was just saying. I
Are
have a
you
shrink
being
appointment.
foul?
I was just suggesting I had an appointment with my shrink.
I should get an appointment with my shrink too. People are driving me nuts.
Yeah.
No question about. I just, honest to God, we had a nice conversation yesterday with a couple of different people. It's like, can you believe people? They might be the meanest they've ever been in my lifetime. They're just mean as hell.
I know, it's true.
What is that?
I know. I always, right up until the last few years, I always got along with my neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like World War III.5.
That's a great neighborhood you live in too. I love your neighborhood.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and it has been beautiful in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I was walking down the street a couple days ago, and it was a beautiful day, and it was interesting because the flowery bushes are now in full bloom,
Sure.
and the aroma's terrific, and so I was walking down the street, and there was this wonderful mixture. Of it was like a combination, though. I was smelling this combination of lilacs and schmaltz.
Oh, see, would you have a beer in your hand? Is that where you got the schmaltz?
So I just figured, this isn't a bad place.
No, it's not a bad place at all. It is a really great neighborhood, but I'm lucky because my neighbors, we all get along really, really well. We get together on Friday nights in the summertime and just sit around and they drink beer and I sit and stare at them drinking beer. It's unbelievable. But no, it's great having neighbors you get along with and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
It is. And the great thing about that is in my neighborhood, there are nice Catholic boys like me, got some Protestants, got a couple of Jews living there. We got a family that has a trans child. Well, not a child anymore. They look to be in about 30 years old, something like that. I mean, we have basically some of everything in that neighborhood, and I kind of like that because it's kind of how I grew up. You know?
Yeah, nice melting pot of society.
Melting pot. Yeah, I love that, man. They're all really, really nice people, and I'm looking forward to getting back home for that. 1 week from today, Galfano, I'm getting in the old vehicle.
All right.
We're going to head back up for the summertime, but I was telling a story this morning to Tevin and AJ that I went for about a 5-mile walk this morning.
Mm-hmm.
I got back, and I am not exaggerating. It was a shirt just like this one, not this shirt, but just like this one. It was soaked from the top of the collar to the bottom of the seam. It was soaked with my sweat. It was that hot out.
Little humidity too, huh?
Oh, God, it was like, honestly, well, right now it is 86 degrees with 90% humidity. And it's going to be like 93 degrees later on today. You notice how I didn't say 92.5 because I don't do that anymore.
I forgot about that. Totally washed it out of my memory.
Yeah, well, it's a good thing probably. There's no question about that.
Yeah, in my neighborhood, it really is pretty mixed. It is right on the edge of the diaspora, which is where the Orthodox Jewish people are. But there's a little bit of everything, and in fact, there's a rumor that a Unitarian moved in down the street.
Uh-oh.
I have not been able to confirm it yet.
Not yet, but any minute now.
Yeah, now that the Unitarian just may be shunned.
Well, why wouldn't you? Think about it.
Yeah, I know.
All right, I got to turn to you for expert advice. Do the Wolves have a chance?
Oh yeah, I mean every game except for the game 5, the one yesterday, was the day before. Every game except for that one, you had the visitor winning, and so in a series like this, it's the home team is pretty much favored in every game.
Yeah.
So nobody can predict these games.
So do you think it'll be tied up after tonight, and then they got that one more game back in Colorado?
It's kind of my guess, but I don't really know. I haven't really been betting on this series. I've just been kind of watching in fascination. I made a very small bet, a series bet on the Timberwolves because I was getting 2-1, and I thought, no, this is going to be close either way.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no idea who was going to win the series, and I haven't had much of an idea who's going to win any game. I do think that Anthony Edwards had better wake up for this game.
Yeah.
Because he actually, there was a really funny moment, unless you're a big Timberwolves fan, in Game 5, when the Timberwolves were down 18-15, 5 minutes left in the first quarter, and Anthony Edwards has this smirk on his face, and I don't know why, because obviously he just didn't play well in that game, but he was wide open and he hit a 3-point shot. And then, like, there was no one around for him to point a finger at and laugh at, because he loves to do that. He's gotten about 12 technicals this year just for mocking opponents. So with no one in sight for him to do that, he looked out at the crowd, the Timberwolves fans, and hilariously he did the shh thing, right? So creative. I've never seen it before. But the fans, it's not like the fans were screaming and yelling or anything, So I don't know who he was telling to be quiet, maybe himself. And that was, of course, the last 3-point shot he hit. He took 5, but that was the only one he hit.
Really?
So I don't think he shushed the crowd very successfully, because basically they're not going to be quiet because a visiting player tells them to.
No.
But this was his idea, Well, he had to mock someone, so.
I suppose. Now, Tevin's a big fan of your Timberwolves, so Tevin, your take on tonight.
I'm nervous. Game 3, we didn't show up at all at home. Game 4, we just didn't play well, but we at least had some energy there. I don't know. It feels like defensively we're not playing up to our standards. Like Rudy Gobert seems to be just kind of standing around flat-footed and not really being effective. Anthony Edwards gets doubled every time he touches the ball, so we have to have Karl Anthony Towns start making shots and other people contribute.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, but he was, and we talked about this earlier. He was double teamed by every successful team there was.
Yeah.
It was only the stupid teams that didn't double team him, because you get him in a box. His instinct is to say, well, this will be fun. Now I can dribble through 2 guys. He's not looking around to see who he can pass to. He only does that when there's panic mode setting in, because he's and the local media have not helped his attitude. I'm not suggesting that he reads anything, but I'm just saying it trickles down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, like, after the Timberwolves won the first 2 games, then the local media, all the people who cover this team all the time were comparing him to Michael Jordan.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Only they were saying he was better.
Oh, okay, good.
So that maybe that gets to a guy, hey, I'm better than Michael Jordan now, which is sort of ridiculous. Maybe they were talking about Michael Jordan, the actor. I don't know.
Michael B. Jordan.
There you go. Yeah. So, but of course now they all have had to write columns saying, well, maybe not so much.
Yeah. Well, Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, he has a show, and when the Timberwolves were up 2-0, he was like, it's over. Yeah. They're going to sweep the Nuggets. And so then the other day he gets on his show and they played that clip back, and then it cuts to him live, and he's just like, this was the most wrong I've ever been about a basketball game. Apologize.
Well, they were basically all wrong after the first 2 teams. Everybody, here they were just the local media. They were talking about what the parade route would be after the Timberwolves won the championship. It was just a given, because after all, the best team that they were going to play was Denver.
Yep.
So if they could just demolish Denver, then obviously they're the best team in the world.
Yeah, I was one of those people. I was ready to order my lawn chair off of Amazon.
Get it going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but fortunately for people who just like watching basketball, it didn't turn out that way. And now you've got this game. Obviously, it's a huge game, but I don't know nobody I respect is saying, yeah, I got this one locked.
Yeah.
Will Anthony Edwards show up is a big thing. It was interesting, and I'm not a fan of his because he's a narcissist. That's all. I've learned not to like narcissists. And it was interesting. So after the game, his take was that, Jokic is the greatest player in the world, and of course we couldn't. What could we do? He was such a great player. Well, what he could have done would have been to pass the ball before he was double teamed.
Right.
Yeah, but he had a nice take on that one too. He said we. He only says we when he means them, right?
You're right.
And he said we had a lot of great looks, but we just didn't hit them. So in other words, what he was saying was the people he did pass the ball to were just losers and they couldn't hit the shot.
Yeah, which I mean, he's not wrong. We missed a lot of open shots, but yeah, he definitely does use the we when he's trying to talk to them.
Yeah, and when you dribble the ball for 15 seconds and the clock is down, the shot clock's down to 6 seconds, and you pass the ball to the first person you can see and they don't hit it, you really shouldn't be surprised.
No. Well, my favorite Anthony Edwards quote was when he had the play where he threw the ball off the backboard earlier in the season and like did that little alley-oop to himself.
Yeah.
And afterwards they asked him like, well, why did you do that? And he goes, well, nobody was open to pass the ball to. And then you cut to a still frame of the moment he threw it off the backboard, and it was every player on the team was open.
Well, just like Game 5 against Denver last year, when the Timberwolves were down by 3 points. Was it 3? I think it was 3.
Mm-hmm.
So they needed a 3, and there were like 3 seconds left in the game. He demands that the inbound pass go to him. Then he's racing down the court. There are at least I've watched this tape many times. There were at least 2 teammates, and of course the Timberwolves had every 3-point shooter they had on the court. There were at least 2 teammates who were wide open, 24 feet away from the basket, but he took the 30-foot shot on the run, and he was being guarded, and it didn't go in. So we'll never know, but it was definitely not the right move. But this is a guy. Also, remember, he was interviewed last year. And this was after the season. And he said, my idea of a good play is when I shoot the ball.
Did he really? He did
yes,
not.
That's exactly what he said.
A good play is when I shoot.
Yep, that's what he said.
Okay, well.
Yeah, but in basketball, you never say shoot. You say shoot the ball. As if,
I suppose that's true, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you might say, well, what else would you shoot? But
right.
they also, I mean, there are all these ridiculous things that announcers say that nobody would say if they were anywhere else but a basketball court.
That's probably true. Although now would say, hey, you're going to shoot, that means a hell of a lot something different than it used to.
Well, that depends whether you're inside or just outside the strip club.
I just cannot believe all these kids that are opening fire on each other on playgrounds. I mean, I'm talking like 13, 14, 15-year-olds that are shooting people.
Yeah,
like,
well, they have access now.
I know. Why?
Because it's just too easy.
I guess it is too easy. What are you going to do?
I don't know.
But such is life. Moving on to another sport. Any chance my Twins will win the day game today?
Oh, yeah. I think it's a 50-50 thing, don't you?
Well, they've lost the first 2, so I hope it's at least 50-50.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
Well, this is the getaway game, right?
Yeah. They got their ass kicked the first 2 games. The Yankees are pretty damn good.
As a gambler, I can tell you especially when the home team loses the first 2 or 3 games and it's the final game and they've been swept so far, they usually win.
They do. Yeah,
but this is the Yankees and it's the Twins, so I don't know.
Yeah, it depends if Aaron Judge sends another ball to the third deck.
Yeah,
this game.
Which he probably will if he gets that 93-mile-an-hour fastball down the middle of the plate like he did yesterday. Of course, he seems to have gotten it because he got on base all 5 times.
You know, it's amazing to me, and I have noticed this, and, I used to go to a lot of Yankees games when I lived in New York and all the rest of it, and Yankee Stadium, the old one was wonderful. I have not been to the new one, but the old one was fantastic. But the Twins never play well again. The Yankees can suck, and still the Twins don't play well against them. I don't get it.
Yeah, it's always been that way. You wonder if there's some sort of like an inward curse, like they have cursed themselves.
Yeah.
Now, who's pitching? Is it Ryan today?
God, I hope so. That'd be great. I don't even know who it is, but Ryan, that'd be a good
it's Ryan.
I like it.
Well, you never know with him, but
yeah, well, that's true.
He's a little better than mediocre.
Joe Ryan for the Twins and Clark Schmidt for the Yankees.
Yeah, I don't know what the odds are, but I would suspect that it's pretty even.
Yeah, that would make sense. We got to win this game today, though. The Twins. What time is the game today? It's like 1:00 Central.
Yeah, 12:10, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. It's 1:00
Well, and
Eastern time.
The rain is gone now, so it'll be a nice day for a
Yep.
ball game.
There's no question about that one. I just one thing that I really, the living, spending some time on the East Coast, I just am not used to the fact like the Twins play the Oakland A's tonight. Game time 2 a.m. It's like
I know.
what the hell? But then you remember it's a 3-hour time difference.
Oh yeah. Well,
You
the time when I was most discombobulated was when I was in Hawaii.
Oh God.
And on Sunday it was a football season. So on Sunday I had to get up at 6:30 a.m. to call my bookmaker.
Yep, absolutely. You had to get up just to make the bet, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and then of course you can't go back to bed after that.
Is that what? That's like a 6-hour time change, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Something like that. God,
Something
I haven't
like
been in
that,
Hawaii
yeah.
in years. I have not been there in years, man. It's unbelievable.
Well, it's the only time I've ever been there, but when people ask me what my memories are, that's what I say. My memory is calling my bookie at 6 a.m.
God,
Not any of like the beautiful islands,
no.
walls. Like, yeah.
As another one, though, the first time Catherine and I ever went to, no, that's not the first time. It was the second time we went to Hawaii. We took the kids. The kids were like, I don't know, 9 and 11, something like that. I don't remember, but we were living out in Dayton at the time, and we get there, and we walk into the hotel. Oh, you've got a phone call already. I was like, what? And nobody even knows we're here. Well, somebody knows you're here because you have a phone message. Our barn burned to the ground. We're on the air.
remember that,
Remember
yes.
that when our barn
Yes.
burned to the ground?
Yes.
And Paul Majors and I had some kind of an argument going on. I don't remember what it was about. But he and I went through that. We were good friends, then we were arguing. Then we were good friends, then we were arguing again. Haven't seen Paul in years now, but I do remember seeing the video when we got back home. And Paul Majors looks at the camera and goes, "I didn't do it."
Oh my! Whoa. He said that on the air.
He did, yes.
Only a Majors would say that.
Oh,
He was
Majors.
taking a page from Ron, I guess.
The Majors. God, when you were talking earlier, Mike, you know what I pictured in my mind? You're talking about the, famous people and all the rest of that stuff. You must really miss Cannon, don't you?
Pretty much every day.
God, you and Cannon became such great friends. That was unbelievable.
Well, he was sort of like a combination of like best friend and sort of a father figure.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah, nice Jewish boy,
Yeah.
something like that, somewhere in there.
I remember, one of the things that I remember best, I have so many memories of Cannon, but one of the things I remember best is when he was making the case that he should be my agent.
He was going to be your agent?
Yeah, he wanted to be my agent.
I like it.
And
Did
I
you do
I had to draw the line there, not because he wouldn't have been a good one, but you don't want one of your closest friends to be your agent. Something could
probably
go
not.
wrong. You'd say,
Probably
"Boy, chick,
not.
I'm going to get you 3 times the money."
Yeah, or you're not going to get the job at all. You either get 3 times more money or you won't get the job at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, that was
That's
Cannon.
the part of it.
Well, the thing about Cannon was that was the thing he loved most about radio was negotiating his contract.
Oh, sure. He loved that kind of stuff.
And that was why, of course, he ended every show was, "I got the money."
He did indeed. Who was the gay character he played again? I keep forgetting. I remember
It was
Mollinger.
Backlash LaRue.
Backlash LaRue. There it is.
I don't think you should do that today.
Nah, he probably wouldn't be doing Backlash LaRue. Although it wasn't obnoxious. He wasn't ridiculing gay people or anything like that.
No, not really.
Because he had Mollinger, who was not really a woman. It was him.
Yes, of course.
And then who was the big character again? I always forget that.
Oh, yeah. It's funny, I remember Backlash LaRue.
Backlash LaRue, Mollinger, and
And
what the hell was his name? He was very.
come on, Cannon.
Cannon, what are you
You
doing?
got to
over there
remember
now?
that one.
I know.
Morgan
I
Mundane.
cannot.
Morgan-
Morgan Mundane, very good.
Morgan.
Which, by the way, is a very good name. Morgan Mundane. You want to be mundane on the radio. That's all.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
perfect. Yeah. And he, of course, one of the things about his characters was that if he gave like a speech somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
he told the audience they had to look away. He didn't want
Yes.
anyone looking at him while he was doing this character.
He wouldn't
I
even
knew
do it
Cannon
for a
for
while.
like 10 years before
Uh-huh.
he was willing to do one of his characters while I was standing there with him.
Really?
Yeah, it took a long time. And not that I cared either.
No, I understand that.
He'd say to me, "Boy, chick, Wojcik, I'm a big star. He said, I don't need to have eight. I don't need eight co-hosts. I don't need 8 characters to work with me. And I'd say,
No.
no, you just need those 3 characters who you're using for your own self-masturbation. And then he'd laugh hysterically.
I did not know this, but that's still, well, it's going to be a record that will stand forever, as a matter of fact, because there's no way it could be topped at this point, is that WCCO had a 40 share, and then the KQ Morning Show came along and beat them, and we had a 35 share.
Yeah.
I guess it's the only time it's ever happened in a major market in the United States that 2 shows had a 35 and a 40 share. I mean, that's, unless there are like 2 radio stations in the market, then that's probably different.
And so if you wonder where we got all those listeners from, well, that's it.
That is it.
It's the only place we could have gotten listeners from.
I suppose that is probably true. Yeah, that probably is true. But yeah, Cannon, I do miss Cannon. He didn't live too long after he moved to Florida, did he?
Well, he was kind of coming and going for a
Yeah.
few years. He had a place down there, but he didn't move down there. But he went there. He had kind of a reasonably modest little place in was it
Marco
Fort
Island.
Myers or was
Fort
it?
Myers, that's right.
Yeah, I think it was Fort Myers. And but then he was down there one winter, and he called me up and he said, well, they found this thing on my back. He said, I thought I just had pulled something, but that was it. And the doctor just told him to go home and settle his things. He was 81.
81 years old, and he had cancer, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad. I used to like spending time with him. I wouldn't hang out with him anywhere near as much as you did, but I did sure like it a lot.
Yeah.
Then, you know what
He
happened
liked
to him?
you. I know that.
Well, we did like each other, but it got kind of screwed up because the general manager at the time asked me if I had any interest when Cannon retired of taking his place at CCO.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody, of course, had to tell Steve that, even though I didn't want to do it,
Right.
the fact that they approached me to replace Cannon, he did not like that at all.
Oh, really?
And
I never
understand.
heard that.
Yeah, but I understand why he would feel that way.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
And then he said something very, like it wasn't a big deal what he said. It was slightly off key. And then by then they had ruined the show anyway because he had a co-host. You remember her, right?
No. Oh, that Ruth, what's her name?
Yeah.
Was
something.
it Ruth?
I think it was Ruth.
Ruth Kozlak. There you go.
Kozlak,
Ruth Kozlak.
yeah.
There
And
you go.
that, of course, that was never going to work. Cannon was, as he said, he was a solo act. And he said something that was, I guess, mildly off key. And then she claimed that she had that she just couldn't get over that it had that she then had some sort of it was like it was an uncomfortable working condition, and she felt like she'd been targeted. Yeah, and so then that's when things really went to hell.
That's what I've been feeling about Galfan for 35 years. I feel very uncomfortable.
But you only complain to me. That's the great thing.
I don't complain to anybody else, just you. That's exactly it. Whatever happened to Ruth Kozlak? She just kind of went away.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever did happen to her.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You kids out there need to tune in tomorrow. Remember, she had that very high voice.
Yes, yeah.
I thought she was pretty good.
It was okay, yeah.
Did a nice job.
It just wasn't a good combination.
No, you don't want to put somebody on with Steve Cannon. That was not a good idea. Whose idea was that?
Well, whoever the GM was at the time.
God, I have no idea who that would have been.
I can't remember.
I don't remember either. Steve Goldstein was the guy there that talked to me about coming to work with him, and I always liked him.
Yeah, I assume he's the one who made the decision about putting those two together, but I don't know.
Probably. Could be right.
They always had whenever there was a new GM there or a new executive of any kind, they always had all the talent and people in the newsroom would have a pool going as to whether the first person into the new executive's office would be. They couldn't. Half the people said it'd be Sid Hartman. The other half said it would be Dark Star.
God, I miss those guys, Sid and Dark Star. Now, you bring them up, and Sidney was always a great friend, no question. He gets so pissed off at me when I would go after the Poe lads or whatever. God, would he get
Well, of
mad?
course, yeah.
Oh, what do you do that for? What's the matter with you?
why he hated me so much because he loved those people who everyone disliked. And of
Yeah.
course, I used to say terrible things about Calvin Griffith. And then I think Sid
Calvin.
he got personally offended one day when I wrote a column and I called him ignorant and stupid.
You called Sid ignorant and stupid?
No, 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 no.
Oh, okay. Well,
Sid was ignorant, but he wasn't stupid.
he did.
I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
He did eat a bowl of salad dressing one time, thinking it was tomato soup. He did.
I remember that.
I'm not making it up. I watched him do it.
Yeah.
So I
And-
do miss Sidney.
And, well, when he died, it took away one of my favorite jokes of all time. But I couldn't say it anymore because every year I would say, "Good news about Sid. He went down to the Mayo Clinic. He had his annual autopsy, and everything is fine."
Well, he lived to be 100. You could still say that.
I know. Yeah, 100. That's amazing.
Lived to be. Matter of fact, he died 2 days after my brother Troy. They died within 48 hours of each other. That was a deal. Chad and I have become really, really good friends over the years too. I just see that's the whole thing that I still love about people's perception of this, that, and the other thing. Because I guarantee you, smart ass listeners that we have to this show, when Candace got the hook from the Q,
Yeah.
well, he fired another one, huh, Tom? I'm like, no, I did not.
Well, what was that? What was that extra belt notch on your belt after that?
Another notch in the belt, exactly.
I just assumed it was because you lost a lot of weight, but now I'm thinking,
Why do you think that everybody thought that I was the one that fired everybody? Because they said I fired Lastman too, and I never fired John Lastman. That's a lie.
no, I can attest to the fact that you did not like wading into those murky waters.
No, I've never fired. I was trying to think of one person I fired on that show, and I can't think of anybody. First of all, I didn't have firing power. With Dave Hamilton, you think I got to fire
Yeah.
people with Dave Hamilton in charge?
Especially when Dave loved firing people so much.
But he did. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, that whole, there's, of course, Terry, I fired her, which I did not. It's all bullshit. I just don't know why people, you got rid of it. Because I suppose you're the lead character, that it's up to you. No, believe me.
Yeah.
What I probably, as a lead character on the show, I probably would have fought them firing me too. You know what I mean?
You were the last person that you fired at KQR.
I fired myself over
Yeah.
at the Q. It was unbelievable. No question about it. But so what'd you fire, Kent? I was like, no, I haven't worked there in like a year and a half. Everything's good. Settle down. But I'm kind of glad we're talking about radio, because radio is changing a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean, my first big job in radio was at 1500 KSTP, an AM station. Is there any? There have to be some markets where AM stations still work, like San Francisco. Don't FMs have a hard time in San Francisco because it's so damn hilly or something? And FM signals go along the ground.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, the thing is, AM radio is very important in small towns.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to believe that's probably true.
And especially now, because so many small town newspapers are going under because so many were purchased by of course, hedge funds that always never had any interest in actually operating those stations. So the hedge funds come in and then they give themselves huge salaries. They install one of their buddies, they give them a
Right.
huge salary. They
Right.
bleed every last penny out of the station, and then they leave it there to die.
You know what's so funny about that, you bringing that up, and I'll be very honest about that. The last time I ever met with all the high muckety mucks at Cumulus, we're having dinner one night, and I went to the bathroom, and on the way back, I could hear them talking to one another. These two guys, hedge fund guys. And one said, we have to do something. And the other one said, well, I understand, but what are we going to do? Right now, he makes more money than we do. It was all about money. It's always all about money, isn't it?
But they, it didn't matter really. Salaries didn't matter because
No.
they always found ways to, give themselves huge dividends.
Oh, yes.
It's they never go away broke. Everybody else does.
God, hedge fund. What's the whole concept? I don't even know much. I've been avoiding hedge funds because they've been so horseshit to me my whole life.
Yeah.
what's the premise there? They just get a bunch of guys together. What is a hedge fund?
Well, typically they buy a property that that really isn't even for sale, but they force
Right.
them to sell it. They buy a bunch of shares if that's what it takes, so the idea there is that they are going to make a huge amount of money by just simply by bleeding the place dry,
Right.
and that's what they do. And then, but the beauty of it all is that they're making these huge profits, which could hurt their tax situation.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a special exception for the hedge funds.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah,
See, I never knew that.
oh yeah,
There's a special tax exemption?
yes, that's correct.
Why?
Well, because they're hedge funds and they have a lot of money, and I guess they bought a bunch of politicians.
Is there a politician out there that's on the up and up? Is there one left?
No,
No.
I don't think so.
Maybe those are the ones though that you never hear about.
Well, that's a possibility, I suppose. Yeah, if they're not pulling some crap on the taxpayers, yeah, you probably wouldn't hear about it. No question about it. But what the hell? I just, I don't know. It's unfortunate. That's all I have to say. So, what else is happening in the world? Anything good?
Anything good? Well, I got a new
Have to
hoodie
think
the
about
other
it.
day.
Oh, you got a new hoodie?
Yeah.
Is there an emblem on it or anything?
It's well, the one I bought, the newest one in my collection is a Dickie.
Oh yeah, those are good.
Those are
They-
good.
They are. Dickies
The,
are
the
good.
rest of the hoodies I have, most of the rest I bought a little too cheap, but they fit in perfectly. Well, I have my special design, which I call the homeless casual look.
Homeless casual.
Yeah.
That's hard to achieve, by the way, to be casual and homeless.
Well, that's why I'm so proud of it.
No, I understand.
You
There's no
just
question
everything
about it.
needs to be frayed.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know how it is with really rich people who try to dress and make it look like they don't have a lot of money, and
Oh,
it
they
always
dress
look at
down,
them
yeah.
and say, "Boy, do they have a lot of money."
Yeah, they dress down. You're
They
absolutely
can't
right.
pull it off.
No, you're absolutely right.
And a lot of these guys are still wearing the sport coats with the elbow patches. That's
God,
a dead giveaway.
I have not seen one of those in quite some time. The elbow patches on a sport coat.
I think it's more of a professorial look now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
this
suppose that's
definitely
probably-
feels like old professor at some college teaching English lit. Yeah,
Yeah.
What was the name of that movie again that just came out about college professors? It was really good. The Out. The what the hell is that called? It was really, really good. A couple of guys had to stay for, like a fourth semester, and this one professor had to stay. Oh, what the hell was it? The Holdouts? Was it the Holdouts?
Oh, the holdovers. You're talking about the one-
Holdovers. There you go.
Lammers loved. Yep.
Yeah, great movie. The Holdovers.
He
That's
loves
exactly-
everything.
Lammers has no credibility. He loves everything.
Well, they one of the best ones I've seen involving professors. I think it was called Election, wasn't it?
Election?
Yeah, I think it was called Election.
Yeah, I think you're
the
probably right.
professor, the one of the professors who was the key character, unfortunately, was a pederast. But other than that,
Other than that,
yeah, I don't think you can make that movie today.
probably not. God, I was thinking about it. Wasn't Johnny Lastman's father a professor at the U?
Yeah,
I thought
but he was not a pederast. Since we're having the
No, I didn't mean that. I just meant he was. I just meant he was a professor.
and when I said he was not a pederast, I was referring to his father, not to John.
Not Johnny.
Yeah,
Not
I'm
Johnny
sure he
Rock.
wasn't either. No, his dad was a very distinguished professor. Yeah,
He was indeed. That's
I don't
what
know where
understand.
Johnny went wrong.
Yeah, what the hell? God, I talked to Johnny a couple of months ago. Like I said, he's another guy that everybody claims I fired, and it was total bullshit. I didn't, because I still talk to him. Well, I haven't talked to Johnny in a few months now, but
Yeah,
I think he's doing a good job up in St. Cloud. Kind of
Yeah.
likes that up there. That's a good thing.
St. Cloud's that's a good radio town.
It is. You're absolutely right about that. It's a terrific radio. I love St. Cloud anyway, except for when they open fire on each other on the campus. But other than that, but that's every school now. Every school, from elementary right on up through college, somebody's getting shot every day. What the hell is that?
Yeah, it's just too easy.
Why do you want to shoot someone? That's the whole thing I don't get. I don't want to shoot anybody,
No, but these people want attention,
I guess.
and they're angry, and I don't know how they get angry, but they do.
Well, I think it was down in Orlando. There was a 16-year-old kid that shot somebody, and now they're trying him as an adult. So hopefully that starts to deter people where like, hey, you can't just shoot somebody and get away with it.
But in Florida, you're an adult at 12, so it goes right along.
That's it.
Yeah.
To 12-year-old adults. Yeah, I don't know. I just, the violence, all the rest of it, just letting people do whatever the hell. When are we going to learn you cannot let people do whatever they want? You have to have laws, and you must enforce those laws, or they're going to run right over you every chance they get.
And I thought maybe there'd be some of the really basic gun regulation laws that almost everybody supports. Because basically the NRA, I think, they're broke, right?
I believe so, yeah.
They're basically broke. They're bankrupt. This would be the time, but nothing happened.
I know. Look, I've had a concealed carry permit for 40 years, probably something like that, because I got some, people threatening me and that whole deal, and I'm going to get you for this and blah, 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 blah. So I've been concealed carry. I have never had to pull a gun on anyone, much less shoot them.
Here's a more difficult question. So I probably shouldn't ask you the question because I couldn't answer it myself. But let's say you were in a shopping mall or something, and somebody pulled out an AK and started firing.
Oh, God.
What would you do?
Depends on where I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is sad is like, because obviously working at the House of Comedy in the Mall of America.
Oh yeah.
I always I've spent way too much time thinking about like, oh, if somebody came in here and like just started shooting, like what would I do? Or if there was a zombie apocalypse. But yeah, in today's world, it's like you have to be cognizant of things like that happening. Like LA Fitness in the gym or in the locker rooms, they would have like a protocol like, hey, if somebody comes in here and opens fire, here's what you should do. And so it's
really.
Yeah. And so that's sad that that's the world we live in today. But
well, what I would do, Mike, obviously, is so basically you're talking about they're shooting up in the air. They're actually shooting at people.
Right.
I mean, which one?
Yeah. They were shooting at, and they were killing people.
I would shoot them. I absolutely would.
It wouldn't be, but it might not be that easy. Well, the point is,
no, you're right.
You might be 100 yards away.
That is very true.
And so, I'm just wondering. It's not like a character test or anything.
No. Like I said, I've never pulled a gun. I've carried guns many, many times. I've never pulled a gun on anyone. I never had to. So in most cases, I think that's probably true. And if somebody just, causing a brouhaha or something, I would not pull a gun on them. No, I was well trained by some very, very good teachers, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to a FBI police officer agent guy, and that does he goes to schools and training them on what to do if there's a mass shooter or whatever. Like a mass shooting at a school. And he tells them all of you should try to rush the shooter. Like if you're in a position where you can't hide and get into safety, like instead of running away, try to rush him. He's like, I'm not going to lie to you. Some of you are going to get shot, but you're going to stop a lot of other kids from getting shot and died. And he's like, to have to go to schools and have those kind of loaded conversations with students is wild.
And has that ever actually happened? Because I don't recall that ever actually happening.
What's that?
No. People rushing the shooter.
No, I don't remember that either.
So I think maybe that was not a practical.
No. And well, I mean, to tell a bunch of little kids, this is what we need you to do in this highly charged situation. Like I wouldn't, if I was a kid, I'm not doing that. I'm trying to run away. That's your first instinct.
Right. That's what they're told to do.
Yeah.
Run first and hide second.
Yeah. When I was 16, and if I could remember the guy's real name, but I don't, but if I did, I'd say it. But I remember I was 16, I was at a house party on Thomas Avenue in North Minneapolis, and a guy walked up, put a gun to my head, and pulled the trigger. And the gun wasn't loaded, but he thought that was hilarious.
Oh, yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Boy, that's really funny, isn't it? Boy, there's some humor right there, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I'll never forget that. That was like, I really wish you hadn't done that.
In my neighborhood, what people do if they're really hostile is they pull out the New Testament.
A nice little Jew joke for the people. Come on, own up to it.
Well, the new and the old are, there's mostly there's similarity, but I mean the theme is kind of the same.
Yeah.
The difference is that with the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, which is what the uber Orthodox Jews, they don't really seem to do much except read those five things over and over. I like when I talk to an Orthodox Jew, and there are several not far away from me who I've gotten pretty friendly with. And when I get to know them, I say, about this Torah thing, don't you think you're kind of like, overdoing it a bit?
And they say,
some laugh and some just look at me like, what?
Mike, did you see this whole Gaza Jew thing happening? Did you see it coming?
No, I mean, I guess you could have, but the way it spread, and it's so sad because the fact is, even in Israel, it's probably pretty close, but I would say even in Israel, it's about 50-50 as to whether it should be a 2-state thing going on there, whether they should each have their own state within the country. But that's in the U.S., it's overwhelmingly the support for a 2-state solution is overwhelmingly positive among Jews.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in many cases, the Jews are far more interested and far more supportive of a 2-state solution than people who aren't Jewish.
What's amazing to me is I don't know if I've met one Jew so far, not met, but have known and have talked to and then met others that supports Netanyahu. He does not have a lot of support from American Jews.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. And he didn't have support for Jews in Israel. The only way he manages to stay in power is because he makes sure that there's always a war going on.
How can we, maybe as humans on Earth, learn that this is not a good idea? To just start wiping people out. Why do we want to do that?
Well, and in many cases, the saddest thing of all is that this kind of hatred is supported by war criminals, and Netanyahu would be one. And obviously the people who started this thing, they're another, because you think terrorists want a solution?
No.
They're out of a job, right?
That's very, very true.
Netanyahu have a solution? He's out of a job.
Mm-hmm.
And after all, half the recent, I say recent, like in the last 50 years, half the recent presidents have really gone out of their way to keep a war going so they could get elected or reelected.
It is an election tool. You're right about that. Unfortunately, it is. You can use a war to get elected.
Yeah.
But see, for me, the trouble is that I was, grew up around a lot of different kinds of people. I would like to point out one group of people I don't like, but I don't have one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People like to call each other names. You've been calling, I've been called every damn name in the book and all the rest of it. I cannot think of one group of people that I would not want to, not necessarily hang around with. I'm not talking about special groups inside the group. The specialty groups are the ones that are causing all the problems. There's no doubt about that. But I don't you don't believe the same thing I do, so I hate you. Like, what?
Well, there are people who grow up in a cult-like atmosphere.
Yeah, true.
And there are more every day.
Why?
Because there are people out there who want to indoctrinate their children.
They do, don't they?
And I'm not just talking about, people like, the uber Orthodox Mormons, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have people who grow up and don't even know what's past your neighborhood. But there's people who do that, and of course, there are Orthodox Jews, and also very Orthodox Christians too, who send their kids from kindergarten on. They send them to schools where they are indoctrinated and told that any other religion is wrong.
God, you know what's hilarious about that is we moved many, many years ago. This is a long time ago. I believe Andy was in like third grade. Alex was in first grade. Moved to a new neighborhood. There was a school, a little private school
Mhm.
in the neighborhood. Signed the kids up. They lasted 1 month. 1 month because they
Yeah.
came home and said, I said, so they're going to get into the Halloween that's coming up in only a couple of weeks here. Uh, no, they don't celebrate Halloween at this school. I said,
Yeah.
what? No, they don't celebrate. It's evil. I said, Halloween is evil?
Sure. Well,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, after all, you're basically saying that witchcraft is okay.
Oh, geez. It's fun. Put on a little mask and go get some candy, for Christ's sake.
Well, I'll tell you this: when I was in kindergarten at Groveland Park Elementary School,
Groveland Park. I know right where it is.
yeah, right up there in Cleveland and St. Clair.
There you go.
Just think, I from the time I was like 6 years old, I walked to school.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? A 6-year-old.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I must say it is true that my mother was usually unconscious at that point, but still,
Oh, I'm not asking. Just keep going.
no, she just, my mother was a traumatized person. It was not her fault,
Right.
but
right.
I just couldn't deal with her because of it. But
Yep.
but we had the holiday festival, except at Groveland Park Elementary. I'm pretty sure they called it the Christian, because
Oh, they did? Okay.
but there were Jews there too, and we never complained about that. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's they do their thing, we do our thing. It was cool, but I was almost literally forced to sing "Oh Christmas Tree" when I was 6 years old. And what they did was they paired me with my best friend Kent Allen. Now, Kent Allen was my best buddy throughout most of grade school. His
Okay.
dad was a Methodist minister.
Oh,
And so I got a taste of that. Loved his parents. They were great people. Even though his mother kicked me out of she was in charge of our Cub Scout troop. And when I was in third grade, she kicked me out of the troop because she said I was too cynical.
what? And you're how old?
I believe it was either third or fourth grade.
A menace to society.
Eight
Yeah,
years
no,
old, something like that?
Yeah.
7, 8 years old, 9 years old, maybe?
Yeah, right in there. So I
Well-
had to sing with Kent. I had to sing "Oh Christmas Tree." Now Kent, he was hip to the whole thing, right? Kent was so far ahead of me in every aspect, and so we're sitting there and we're waiting for our 2 minutes of fame, right? And the curtain hasn't gone up yet on us. And I'm just talking to Kent, and he says to me, "Shh, be quiet. We're on.
We're on?
We're on." He said that as a kindergarten kid, yeah. So I basically, anything Kent said we should do, I just followed his lead.
And did it keep you out of trouble?
But I'm still traumatized to this day by it.
Yeah, I suppose.
Every time
But-
I hear a Christmas carol, I just want to weep.
But, we sang other things in our school systems. I went to Catholic school, and we sang some songs from just about every group of people.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
know,
The dreidel song. I remember singing
dreidel,
that.
dreidel.
Yeah.
We made it out of
Out of
clay.
clay.
Yep.
Yeah,
We sang that one. Yep.
My God, I get the shivers when I think that song was being sung in Osceola.
That's out there.
I remember like a kid that lived like one block down from us. His family was Jewish, and yeah, like I got to go over during Hanukkah and like spin the dreidel, light the candle. Like they taught me all about like their
Mhm.
traditional cultures, and it was fun. It was like nobody cares. Like be a part of it. You get to celebrate, eat food, and yeah, nobody's getting hurt.
So this
We're
was
fine.
like the town Jew, right?
Yes, we didn't call him that to his face,
The
but yeah.
town Jew.
But the
So let's
town
see.
Jew.
He could have been an attorney. He could have
Mhm.
been. He could have operated a scrap yard.
Sure.
Let's see. Well,
Clothing store.
those would be well, maybe a little later, but
Yeah, a little later.
I
Yeah.
guess you're right though. That would have been, to me, that's later. But I would go with either accountant, attorney, or scrapyard.
Yeah. All I know is I always thought they were rich because, and like their house wasn't huge or anything, but they had a like playhouse for their kids in the backyard. That was like a mini version of
Oh.
their house. And I was like, you guys must be rich if you have a guest house for your kids out back.
Well, did they make it or did they buy it?
I have no idea. I was probably like second grade when.
Oh, you were okay.
Yeah, I was super young.
Well, let me just put it this way: did they ever sue you?
No, they did not sue.
Okay, so we'll scratch lawyer.
Lawyers off.
He's
the
not a
list.
lawyer.
Yeah.
You ever have to buy a catalytic converter?
No, yeah, I'm not sure what they did, but
That
There
is
was a-
true, that so many Jews wound up operating the town scrapyard.
Oh, absolutely. And Washington Avenue in North Minneapolis, baby.
Yeah, and that, of course, that was right next to my favorite bar.
PJ's?
No, the one I would I
Irv's?
would do my
Irv's.
remotes from Irv's. Yeah,
Is there anything in Irv's now? Is it
I don't
empty?
think so. Yeah, well, it's been a long time since I drove by it or anything, but
God.
yeah, last I heard, it was kind of, maybe it was being used as like a warehouse or something.
No,
They must
yeah,
have torn
maybe.
it down by now.
was that on like West Broadway?
Yeah.
Yep. It was on West Broadway and
Oh, it was at the corner of Down and Out.
And there's a canonism again.
Well, I used that one for a long time.
Yes, indeed. But no, I mean that area when I was in my early 20s and could legally go into bars and all that stuff, those bars down there, man, what a great time.
Well,
man,
and,
we had a good time.
and, speaking of the scrapyard, what would happen is guys would collect scrap all night.
Oh yeah,
which suggests that sometimes maybe people weren't actually donating it to him.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe that they kind of
And so then
disassemble.
like at 8 o'clock, which is when Irv's and many other bars open,
Mm-hmm.
they would cash in, they'd get their money, and then they'd go over to Irv's and then they'd drink it down.
That's exactly it. It's one thing about Florida that I have noticed that's different from Minnesota.
Mhm.
Most of the bars, especially the small, single door bars, not the big ones, but the little, the local pubs, I guess is what they call. Every one of them has a neon sign in the front window that says open till 5 a.m. It's like, what?
So they're basically never closed.
Basically, they're never closed.
So they just
Yeah,
sweep the place out,
basically.
and then they put up the open sign.
But the amazing thing is, honest to God, if I'm never driven by one at 5 in the morning, but I have driven by some at like 2:30. The parking lot's full. I mean, it's
It's not a bad
unbelievable.
idea.
Why is that?
Well, because like around here, the bars close at 1 or 2 a.m., right?
2 a.m. I think
They all
now,
close
yeah.
at 2 now, I suppose.
think so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that at 2 a.m., there's going to be very hostile people, most of them,
Yeah.
some of them with guns.
Yep.
Then they're just sort of wandering around outside the bar after it closes. And that's when bad things tend to happen.
Yeah, that's true.
So if the bar never closes, basically, you don't have that problem.
Yeah, bad things never happen.
Well, fewer.
Yeah, fewer.
Well, think about that, getting in a fist fight at 4:45 in the morning. It's like, Jesus. It's a little aggressive.
Well, especially, the ones who take the cheap shots are the ones who punch the other guy while he's yawning.
Oh, yeah. I've seen it. No question. All right, we got 1 minute. Any wrap-ups? Well, thank you to Tevin, by the way, for filling in for Andy today.
Oh, yeah.
Andy's in great shape. He's going to try to be back tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to.
I looked at that picture of Andy that was on Melissa's Facebook page,
Mm-hmm.
and it was she had taken the picture after he had his what do I want to call it, procedure done.
Procedure. There
Yeah.
you go.
And I wasn't sure it was Andy at first because whoever it was smiling.
Oh, my God. How did that happen?
I don't know. She must have caught him at the wrong time.
Might have been the incision. They just said it looked like a smile, but it actually is where they cut his throat.
I suppose, or maybe he was just all goofed up on opiates. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't think so, though.
Possibility.
I think he was actually happy.
That is a tough road to hoe, finding out your son has cancer, but they got it all, man.
Yeah,
That's
it was a
good.
relief. God.
And Gail fan,
Hmm?
Darren says from the chat that he always loved when you called into the show from Irv's. So it must have been a good time.
It was a
Yeah,
winner. Let's
it
put
was.
it that way.
It was
Everybody,
really
in
good.
some way, everybody related to the people who were there.
They did indeed. It's true. All right, fellas. Well, thanks. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.